Έτοιμοι. Welcome. Καλώς ήρθατε. Καλώς ήρθατε. Σεβασμιότατα Άγια Αμερικής, κυρία Πηδοφόρε, και εκπρόσωπε του Οικουμενικού Πατριάρχου κυρίου Βαρθολομαίου, αξιοσέβαστοι αρχιερείς και κληρικοί, πολύ αγαπημένε Πάτερ Father Alex και Πρεσβυτέρα Ξανθή Καρλούτσου, αγαπητοί πρόεδροι του Συνεδρίου των Αρχόντων, Dr. Limbarakis, μας λείπει ο κύριος Μαρτίνος, αλλά we wish him the best. Σεβαστοί άρχοντες και αρχόντισσες, όπως ακούσαμε χθες το βράδυ, του Εκμενικού μας Πατριαρχείου, φίλες και φίλοι, Χριστός Ανέστη. I know we've had actually an extended experience when we first came here, but I want to, on behalf of the trustees of the American School and the overseers of the Yanadios Library, together with the director of the school, Bono Westcott, and all of my tremendous colleagues that were here, I want to give them a round of applause for showing you the exhibit. We want to welcome you to the main campus of the American School of Classical Studies at Athens. Founded in 1881, the American School has, for over 143 years, strived to preserve, protect, and promote Greece's historic past from prehistory to the present day. You know, as I prepared to welcome you this evening to our campus, I wanted to look for a common thread. A thread between the Archon's International Conference and the American School of Classical Studies at Athens. And I had to look no further than this past Sunday's gospel lesson about the paralytic. And I remembered His Eminence's words in his sermon in the beautiful cathedral. And as you recall, the paralytic lay next to that well, sick for 38 years. And when asked by Christ what the issue was, he said, Anthropon ukechon. Translated, I have no one. And then Christ, on, he who is, stepped forward and healed him. Archons, by coming to Greece and making the effort to participate in this human rights conference, I personally believe you have stepped forward. You've stepped out of the group. You've chosen not to remain in the background. So too, the American School of Classical Studies at Athens is a story full of people who in like manner have chosen not to remain in the background, but to step up and step forward, to be the anthropo, and to help preserve and promote Greece's past. As you dig deeper, you will see what makes this extra special is that the American School, this place, is primarily a story of Philhellenism. These are people who were not born Greek, but chose to become Greek. It is why I think it is so appropriate for the facade of the Yanadios Library, the place we just took our picture, is inscribed with the words of Isocrates. Έλληνες καλούντες ή της παιδεύσεως της ημετέρας μετέχοντες. Translated, they are called Greeks, those who share in our culture. So allow me to highlight for all of you just a few transformational moments in our history where Philhellenes responded to a call. When we wanted to build the Stoa of Attalus, where we were Monday, and the school said, Anthropon ukechon, it was John D. Rockefeller who stepped up. When Ioannis Yanadios donated his remarkable collection of rare books and manuscripts to the American School on the condition that they build the library, the school responded, Anthropon ukechon. And it was Andrew Carnegie who responded to the call and stepped forward. When the Blegan Library needed to be expanded, it was Arthur Vining Davis who made sure that it happened. And most recently, when it became evident that modern technology could actually impact the discovery of the past and that we had to build a state-of-the-art lab for archaeological science, guess what? Anthropo ukechon. Until Malcolm Wiener stepped forward from Greenwich, Connecticut. Some of you are from there. Now in ancient Corinth, where we had been excavating since 1896, and who most of us know, where St. Paul spoke, both the museum on site, the adjacent buildings, and a brand new apotheki, research apotheki, with a second one we're hearing on the way soon, were all made possible through American philanthropy led by Charles Williams. And finally, this building, in which we all sit now, is a gift to the people of Greece by the president and CEO of Neutrogena Corporation, Lloyd Kotzen. He was a longtime trustee and president, and ultimately became the first chair of the Board of Overseers of the Gennadios Library. This was a man who I found astonishing as CEO and president wouldn't come to Greece to go to the beach. He would come here to go to remote excavation sites and live as a student. And he loved it. And he gave this place to the people of Greece. These stories and more are told in a short film library that we have on our website. But beyond the buildings themselves, it is the collections and the work that is done here today that makes one marvel. Today, the time we have here enables us only just to give you, just a small little taste of the American school. But okay? So you'll come again. On the back of your programs, there's a QR code. You can request a tour, and you can spend more time here. But before you go, if you didn't have a chance to see the In the Name of Humanity exhibit in the Makrianis wing, be sure to do that and come again as we open new exhibits in the future. That In the Name of Humanity exhibit is a remarkable but long forgotten story. When over 1.2 million people showed up at the borders of Greece and said, what? Anthropon ukiachon. And suddenly, people responded. It chronicles both the worst and the best of humanity. I think it's the thread that combines the Archon's Human Rights Conference with the American School. It's a story, though, that honestly, if you experience it today, realize it should not stop here. And our commitment is to bring it beyond the borders of Suidia Street and to bring it to America with partnerships throughout the country. And I work with the Maliotis Cultural Center on the school, and we're going to be hopefully bringing it there, and hopefully in your regions, you'll want to partner with us to continue these stories going above and beyond. And now, I pause and just take a moment to see a little bit more about the American School of Classical Studies at Athens. Kalos ήρθατε. We have technical problems. We'll come back. We're not immune to that. Constantino? Okay. Να ξεκινήσουμε τώρα. You get yourself ready. Don't worry about it. Yes, get yourself ready. We'll be back. We'll proceed, and we'll come back to that in a moment. Don't play it. We'll come back. It's with great joy. Let me introduce my next speaker, and we'll get that settled. To introduce someone who's very special and steps forward to help others every day. I'm honored that Andreas Zanakis has chosen to be such an important part of our American school community. Andreas is a man of deep faith and conviction and has dedicated much of his life in service to others. He is an archon of the Ecumenical Patriarchate and a former president of the Pamakaristos Brotherhood. His charity and love is felt throughout Greece, including Chara, a home for seriously disabled adults and children. And we are extremely honored that his interest and support extends to us. As a trustee of the American School of Classical Studies at Athens, he also serves as a chair of our Gennadios Library Board of Overseers as well. Amongst the many initiatives he helped create here is a new academic program sponsored by the Gennadios Library, focusing on post-antique studies. He takes a keen interest in advocating for various culture and educational initiatives, including the In the Name of Humanity exhibition that is on display today. I personally am honored to work with him every day. In a way, Andrea, you take care of me too, but I cannot be all that surprised. After all, I am Orphanakos, and he is Archon Orphanotrophos.
Thank you, George. That was very kind and undeserved. Anyway, Christos Anesti, and welcome. It's been one of my life's great privileges to serve both the Ecumenical Patriarchate as well as the American School of Classical Studies at Athens in various capacities over the years. Like many of you here today, I too am a Diaspora Greek. For many of us in the diaspora, the issue of identity is not an academic one, but core to our being. The question, who am I, appears and reappears in our lives. I assume that this, alongside your faith, is what brought so many of you here to Athens to this conference in support of religious freedom. The Church and the Orthodox faith is what kept our language so central to our identity alive. The Patriarchate has always been the timeless expression of our faith and a symbol of our resilience as a people. The Church has in some form always been present in our lives and in those of our ancestors. In every village and town we migrated to around the world, one of our first acts was to build a church, bringing our faith and our community together. This is why our sense of identity has survived for so many generations of migrants. Many of you here today may be third and fourth generation children of immigrants, but your identity as Greeks lives on alongside the love of your adopted country. This great institution, the American School of Classical Studies at Athens, has been here in Greece for nearly 150 years. Its contribution to the study of antiquity is unparalleled. Its two great libraries, totaling nearly 300,000 books, are both leading libraries in their fields. Our science lab is the most advanced in the Eastern Mediterranean, and our archives include the personal papers of many famous archaeologists, including Heinrich Schliemann, the excavator of Troy, as well as the personal papers of Nobel Prize winners Elitis and Seferis, and many of the country's most important poets, artists, politicians, and scholars. The vision of the school is simply to be the preeminent center for the study of the Greek world from antiquity to the present day. So at its most basic level, the school has been engaging in the study of Greek identity through the ages. But identity and the perception of identity is not static, especially for a people as ancient as the Greeks. Greek has, after all, been spoken for at least 3,500 years, and some think even maybe 5,000 years. By the way, as a quick parenthesis, for those of you who I hope will visit our science lab, you may want to ask our scientists if it's true that they've been working at an elephant slaughtering site in the Peloponnese. I found out today that they apparently examined about 1,000 skeletons that were found under the Stavros Niarchos Center, which was a very important cemetery in the antique period. And indeed, you may want to ask him if it's true that the first presence of hominids in the Peloponnese appears to date back as much as 750,000 years. So these are all very interesting findings. The breadth of our mission makes our school unique. This is due in no small part to the man after whom the imposing building we were just photographed in and its magnificent garden, the Gennadion, is named after. Ioannis Gennadios, ambassador to the court of St. James, a scholar and son of scholars, as well as a bibliophile, wanted the world to know Greece and the genius, η ευφυΐα, of the Greeks across the ages and in all fields of endeavor. He wanted the world to know Greece beyond antiquity. So in 1923, he made the school a gift of 35,000 rare books on the condition that the school built him a separate library in which to house his collection. The Americans took on the challenge, and the library was inaugurated in 1926. His deed of gift in 1923 was very explicit. He made his gift, he wrote, to the American School of Classical Studies, and I quote, as a token for his admiration and respect for the United States of America, and in the confident hope that the American school may be able to become a world center for the study of Greek history, literature, and art, both ancient, Byzantine, and modern, and for the better understanding of the history and constitution of the Greek Church. As a Greek, Gennadios understood that the history and culture of the Greek people could not be understood unbound from the history of the Church. I think all of us involved with the American School of Classical Studies, including the staff, the students, trustees, and overseers, and all our supporters, can quite proudly say that his confident hope became our mission. The Gennadios Library's collection has grown to over 140,000 books, many of them of great significance. And in the past few years, scholarship in the post-antique period has been augmented by the addition of 4 new graduate fellowships, fully funded by the Board of Overseers, for scholars from around the world to study various aspects of the post-antique, including, by the way, a fellowship specifically concerned with the history of the Greek Church. I often say that within the walls of the American School of Classical Studies lies the history of the Greek people. We owe this largely to the generosity of Americans and to American institutions that have built and supported this school for nearly 150 years. We're determined that this generosity should not be forgotten, especially here in Greece. We celebrated the bicentennial of the Greek Revolution with a fascinating exhibition on the American Philhellenes that fought in the Greek War of Independence. I must admit, I had no idea that Americans had fought for that ideal. Alongside Lord Byron, whose death 200 years ago we are commemorating at the school next weekend, showcasing a variety of the poet's artifacts, including a lock of his hair that we have in our collections. I had never heard of Samuel Gridley Howe, a Bostonian graduate of Harvard and Brown that became the chief surgeon of the Greek Navy in the wars of the Revolution, who went on to found the Perkins School for the Blind, the very first school for blind people in the U.S., and who raised money in America to support the Cretan uprising of 1866 against the Ottomans. The list of donors, by the way, reads like a catalog of Boston Brahmins. We then went on to commemorate the exchange of populations, the exhibition you saw, under the Treaty of Lausanne in 1923, which saw 1.2 million refugees, including 18,000 orphans, transferred to Greece in the space of a few months. This at a time when the population of Greece was about 5 million. The untold and forgotten part of this story, which was so tragic and yet so transformational, was the role of the American public, driven mainly by their Christian faith in saving hundreds of thousands of lives. Who among you had ever heard of the American women doctors, women that banded together to build 23 hospitals in Greece? Who had heard of the orphanage of Syros that housed 7,000 orphan children, educated them, fed them, and taught them trades so they could survive? Who has heard of Near East Industries, which taught women crafts so they could sell their goods around the world and feed their families? And who had heard of what is still the biggest humanitarian fundraising in American history, where $32 million, approximately $1 billion in today's money, were raised in the space of 2 months largely in Protestant churches throughout America, in order to save the Christians. A familiar story. This exhibition tells us an all but forgotten story, opening a whole field of study that is as relevant today as it was 100 years ago. We hope that, as George told you, we hope that this exhibition will travel to the States. On that note, thank you for your patience. I could talk about the school and its mission passionately and endlessly. I haven't had time to talk to you in detail about all our exhibitions, our collections of rare books and manuscripts, our concerts of both classical and demonic music, our many excavations, our students, our scholars. So follow us on social media. We do a lot here, and most, if not all, our lectures and events are live cast and on our website. We cover it all from antiquity to the present, and I think you'll find it very interesting. This is an institution we can all be very proud of, and for us Greeks, it touches our hearts. Finally, thank you for visiting us. Congratulations on pulling this great conference on religious freedom together, and on bringing so many Archons from around the world here to Greece, the mother country. Enjoy your short stay with us. We've arranged for you to visit our various facilities on campus, and please feel free to engage with the scholars and staff of this amazing institution. And do come back again for a visit when you have more time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrea. Our film is ready.
If you're interested in mankind, if you're interested in society and how it should function, then you would do well to study the past.
There's certain moments in history where the human spirit just kind of bubbles up and goes.
Whether we're talking about democracy, art, philosophy, it doesn't really matter what the subject is. It begins in Greece.
The school acts as a gateway to not just a different place, but sometimes a different time.
We bring Greece's past to life to really help shape the world's tomorrow. Preserving, protecting, promoting all aspects of Hellenism from ancient times till today. And we've been doing it for 135 years.
There were educated businessmen, lawyers, financiers who truly believed that the study of the Greek past was of a great good for the general public and that it needed to be advanced. We exist by virtue of the philanthropic efforts of individuals like them. We had pioneer women archaeologists leading research teams in Greece. We are international, multicultural, and intercontinental in terms of the networks of collaborations that are carried out.
We're a consortium of almost 200 leading academic institutions in the United States, all of whom support the school.
We draw from that membership, whether in Texas or Hawaii or Massachusetts or Florida, to bring people here.
In a place that has 3 world-class libraries within 100 meters. When you're in Athens, it feels like the center of the universe.
I would rather do this here in Athens than anywhere else because the major monuments are here and it's very inspiring.
You feel what a contemporary Greek would have felt standing on the Acropolis with the Parthenon right next to you.
What you're doing is creating the next generation. They're all going to be high school teachers, they're going to be professors, they're going to be scholars, and they are the ones who are going to pass on our understanding of antiquity. We have the pieces that were necessary for the working of the democracy, and those are the people of Athens speaking to you directly over thousands of years.
We have about 1.5 million items digitized.
All of that information can really be disseminated to new audiences, to the global classroom.
The American school gives you a place where you can kind of explore your own passions in a way. You have people who are so passionate about the material, they create tools to study it. When you see what can be done at a single site, then you realize, why can't we do this across all of Greece and have all of Greece accessible in that way?
There's hardly a part of Greece that some American school project is not operated in.
We've got 300,000 catalogued objects to educate our students, but also for research so that we can come up with better interpretations. We're also developing ways to present this all to the public. So we're creating a management plan to create an archaeological and ecological park, educational programs for children in the States, which we translate into Greek so that students in Greece can also use those same materials.
The collection is about the history of Greek genius through the ages. It is very important to find ways in which to attract people, to make them understand that there is value in the old books and secrets that are hidden in there.
Our mission is essentially a rescue mission. We're creating time capsules for future generations.
It is important to be able to share this through exhibitions, scholarly presentations.
We carry out many synergasias, collaborative projects with archaeologists in the different inspectorates of the Ministry of Culture. We conduct research together and publish together.
We're at a moment of revolutionary change in archaeological science.
Using sophisticated techniques, we dig deep into the past.
We can now tell not only what a person had in his last meal, but where he lived.
I guess I've always been pretty interested in different things, but the school gives you the opportunity to really explore all of those things.
You come over as an American and you leave feeling much more like a Greek. You really do get a second home. Το δεύτερο σπίτι.
So I hope that gives you a little bit of background about the American school. One thing you don't get from this, and that really shocked me and amazed me, you know, when the American school buys property or does something and builds something and cultivates it and everything, we are stewards of these things, but we give everything back to the people of Greece. So even the Stoa of Attalus, built, you know, through the generosity of Rockefeller, is gifted back to Greece, and we have our offices there, but we ask permission to get into our offices. And sometimes they'll say no, which is their right, and we say thank you, you know, for asking. But I think it's a beautiful relationship and a deep relationship respect for Greece. But a director once said the best thing. She said, what's theirs is theirs, and what's ours is theirs. You know, so that's what it is. So without further ado, it's my honor to introduce and welcome Archon Chrysostomos Parentes, the president of the Archons of the Order of St. Paul the Apostle. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, George. Good evening, everyone. Your Eminences, your Graces, distinguished hosts of the American School of Classical Studies, beloved, esteemed Archons and Archondices, and I love that term that we coined this week because I know my wife back home in Canada is watching on a live stream that's going on right now, and it's without her I would not be able to do some of the things that I do as an Archon and involved with the church. Beloved sisters and brothers in the Lord, Christos Anesti. I'd like to start by saying what an amazing facility the American School of Classical Studies is. I'm so impressed with everything that they have done. As mentioned, they restored the Stoa of Attalus in 1956, where we had our opening on Monday morning. What an amazing and emotional experience. I congratulate them, continue the great work, and when I have more time, I will definitely come back and spend more time here to see everything that there is. As president of the Archons of the Ecumenical Patriarchate in Canada, the Order of St. Paul the Apostle, I'm happy to express our tremendous pride in sponsoring the reception this evening, and to let all of you know that this is the first time that the Archons of Canada have participated in these all-important international conferences for the benefit of the ecumenical throne. It will definitely not be our last time. We have 7 Canadian Archons here this week. At the next conference, I'm sure we will have more, because we have some great things to tell the Archons in Canada, and I'm sure they will love to come out and get more engaged. I'd like to single out the leadership of His Eminence Archbishop Sotirios of the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese of Canada and the Arctic, who has encouraged the participation of the Order of St. Paul in this vital conclave in Greece. We have been welcomed with open arms and loving hearts by all the Archons here and by the members of the organizing committee. On behalf of the entire Order of St. Paul, I would love to especially acknowledge and thank National Commander Archon Megas Actuarios Dr. Anthony J. Liberakis for his leadership and for including us in an active role in this conference, as well as Archon Konstantin Sideridis, who has been the liaison between the organizing committee and myself. I've met many Archons, other hierarchs, and made many new friends so far these last few days. I look forward to meeting more of you and to getting to know you better in the future. I'm a proud Greek Canadian, born and raised in Canada, to Greek immigrant parents who both immigrated to Canada from Greece in the 1950s and 1960s. And there they found a country that welcomed them with open arms. As a Canadian and as an Archon of Canada, I have personally witnessed and experienced the opportunities that Canada offers and affords its citizenry to engage their religious beliefs without fear of persecution, and to raise their families within their own faith and cultural traditions. In fact, in 1960, Canada passed the Bill of Rights, recognizing that its citizens should be free of discrimination due to race, color, religion, or sex. And in 1982, Canada enacted the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, which entrenches these in the Constitution of Canada. This is why fighting for religious freedom and against religious persecution is so important for the Archons of Canada. We as Archons of the Ecumenical Patriarchate must do everything in our power to raise awareness among our political leaders for the protection of the liberty of the purely spiritual mission of the Mother Church of Constantinople. We who are the children of the Ecumenical Patriarchate around the world must continue to be a diaspora in action, and the Archons of the See of St. Andrew must continue to be the vanguard for the international movement to ensure the freedom and opportunity of the Mother Church. I congratulate you all for all you have achieved since the first international conference in Brussels in 2010, only 14 short years ago. Our keynote speakers here over the past 2 days have provided thoughtful insights on the theme of our conference: religious freedom, democracy, and human rights. Unfortunately, these basic rights are lacking in many parts of the world, and it is in our hands to do something about that. And today we are here in Athens on the eve of the first global summit of Archons, which I know will also be very productive. That is because I see the determination in all of you to keep moving forward, to achieve so much more in our efforts to promote religious freedom, democracy, and human rights. Maybe, just maybe, one day, through our determined efforts, we can even hold a global summit in the city that is the home of our Mother Church, Constantinople. Many great achievements have been born out of a dream. It is in our hands. Thank you.
And it's my honor to thank you very much. That was beautifully said. And hello to your wife as well, watching at home. And it is an honor to introduce the spiritual leader of the Greek Orthodox Church in America, a man who has already responded countless times when he heard anthropo ukechon, and is not afraid to step up, to step forward, and to lead. Please stand and welcome His Eminence Archbishop Philanthropy of America, the Patriarchal Representative. We're honored to have you here, Your Eminence.
Παρακαλώ καθίστε. Παρακαλώ. I loved the video where this young student said, το δεύτερο σπίτι, and he reminded us the Greek concept and the idea of philoxenia. I was amazed when I visited officially the country of Panama, and I had a meeting with the president of Panama, and the first thing he asked me, he said, Your Eminence, can you explain to me what philotimo means? I was, surprised, and you can imagine how I tried to explain, but then I realized that he belonged to one of the Jewish families expelled from Thessaloniki. So he spoke some Greek, and he wanted to impress and surprise me, and he did. Distinguished hosts and dear friends of the American School of Classical Studies, Your Eminences, my dear brothers in Christ, clergy of the Mother Church of Constantinople and the Church of Greece, most honorable archons of the Mother Church of Constantinople, beloved sisters and brothers in the Lord, we will never stop greeting each other all these days by Christos Anesti. It is such a pleasure to be within the hallowed precincts of the American School of Classical Studies, which has offered so much to Greece and to the world entire throughout its long and storied history. The Stoa of Attalos, in which we gathered yesterday for the opening of this all-important conference, is, as George Orphanakos already said, is a gift of the American School to the people of Greece. The excavations in the ancient Agora and the seemingly numberless sites around Greece, where scholars and students ply their archaeological craft, all these are an extraordinary boon to this country. And standing here, connected to the only library Andrew Carnegie built outside of the United States, is the famed Gennadios Library. For those of you who noticed as you approached this temple of wisdom, and already our good friend George Orphanakos translated to us, we also carved in monumental letters in the frieze of the facade is a most profound notion of the Panegyrikos of Isocrates, who was a contemporary of Socrates and Plato, and Xenophon, Έλληνες καλούνται ή της παιδεύσεως της ημετέρας μετέχοντες, something that I already referred to and explained last night at the wonderful reception we had under, not the shadow, but under the light of Acropolis. This inscription must surely give us all pause in a spirit of wonder and gratitude. For here is a principle 2,500 years old, a principle that binds us all together around the globe. Hellenes of the homeland, Hellenes of the diaspora, Philhellenes from every corner of the globe are bound in solidarity of substance that is the pedia of Greece. Truly, those worthy of the name Hellene are those who do partake of the vast civilizational culture that is called the pedia of Greece. And where is this legacy to be found today? Literally everywhere. everywhere in the world, in all the sciences, all the arts, music, plastic and visual iconography and architecture, philosophy, logic, the entire gamut of intellectual endeavor. But there is another very special place where this legacy resides and abides, and this is within the sacred environs of our Holy Church. For the ancient wisdom of the Greeks passed into the Christian Roman Empire, known to the world as Byzantium, and is held to this day in the 1700 years old spiritual continuum of the ecumenical patriarchate. Thus, the archons of the Mother Church bear a weighty responsibility to this history and to this legacy. We feel it here at the Gennadion. We feel it in every stone of Athens, whether the mighty Pentelic marble of the Parthenon or a carved side of street of Athens. We feel it in every mountain, every valley, river, and the coastline of Greece. And so, within the same dedication that the Athenian American School has for the legacy of Greece, the archons of the ecumenical throne will prosper the profound heritage of the Mother Church of Constantinople. The archons will continue to reveal to the world the spiritual treasures and riches of the Most Holy Ecumenical Patriarchate, for she is the trustee of the Orthodox faith and the Orthodox Pedia, the spiritual culture that emerged when the Gospel and Hellenism became syzygy, as we say in Greek, joined by the Holy Spirit. And as the American School creates a living legacy through its educational programs, the archons propagate the living logos of the Mother Church throughout the diaspora. We are grateful tonight for being received in these enlightened precincts, and we pledge to bring the light of Phanar throughout the world to illumine the Church and our fellow human beings with the Logos, the message of love, message of peace, forgiveness, mercy, and of course, the responsibility for God's glorious creation. That is the message of the See of St. Andrew. Athens gave the world archons in millennia past, and we are here to let the whole world know that in Athens, the archons of New Rome, of the Ecumenical Patriarchate, have returned. They are back, and they are back as a new embassy for the Ecumenical Patriarchate to the Church and to the world. Thank you.
And thank you, Your Eminence, and thank you all for joining us here this evening. We are now, actually, let me give you some exciting news. Trust me, you're tired, but wait till you hear what we have in store. We are now inviting you, when we leave here, both these doors are going to open, and to the right is the colonnade that leads towards the Gennadios Library. The reception is open. If you want to go down, you can, but you're going to miss some special things. So what we're inviting you to do is you can go down the colonnade and into the Gennadios proper. We've set up three stations in the Gennadios, and I want to thank the director of the Gennadios Library. I think she just went to get set up, Dr. Maria Yorgopoulou, Dr. Natalia Vogeikov-Brogan, who's the director of the American School Archives and Personal Papers, and also Eleftheria Deleziu, who's assistant archivist, I think is the official title, researcher. They've put together a remarkable display of artifacts. Let's see if you'll perk up. Please be careful as you maneuver around. You may take pictures. No drinks, no food in there. Here are some of the things you're going to see. Rare books and manuscripts are on the left side. They have the first printed edition of Homer, Florence, 1488. No touching. A signed patriarchal recommendation of Patriarch of Constantinople, Kyrillos Loukaris, from 1572 to 1638 with his signature, granted to the abbot of the monastery of Dosiku. Pretty fascinating. I wrote a paper on him, so I was impressed to see that. A manuscript map of Constantinople of the 17th century that shows where the Patriarchate is. An illuminated liturgical manuscript of the 17th century. Can you watch these? I don't know if it's just me. Plus a handwritten Byzantine music manuscript. That means you can chant Archon, right? You're psaltisa. The Department of along the back wall, there'll be display cases. They're a collection of items related to Lord Byron. Okay, so you can go on your own there. No touching. The department, you're seeing a common theme here. The Department of the Archives have taken out a sampling of items including a table displaying archival material documenting the excavations of the palace of Nestor at Pylos in Messenia in the 1950s. A table showcasing the diaries of Heinrich Schliemann from his excavations at Troy in 1873, okay, and Mycenae in 1874. Did I say that correct? I think so. And here's a fun one. A table showcasing material from the archives of Elias Petropoulos, among the musical instruments in the baglama of Titsanis, and the bouzouki belonging to Batis, photographs and handwritten lyrics and musical notes, including the song Sinefiasmeni Kyriaki. More of that than the patriarchal encyclical? Come on. Siga. And Akroliales Delina, to είπα καλά αυτό, Vasilis Titsanis. Following your experience there, min viazeste. You can go in there, look, enjoy, really rejoice in that. And then the reception is still open, as we said, in Metinistichiasas. And then, as we did say, at the end of the night, if you want to go see the archaeological laboratory, which is across the street, which is spectacular, we'll do that as well. You can find anyone with a green, a little badge like this. Meet at the gate at the bottom around 8:45. We'll take you across the street for that. Don't miss that, Leo Andreas. Okay, so if you want to come, we're going to do that με τη σειρά. And one final thought I have, και θα σας αφήσω μετά από εκεί. When visiting the school, the natural tendency, I have to be honest with you, is to look back, right? You look at the history, you look at the archaeology, the topography, the art, and the monuments of Greece. It's natural, right? That's what this is. But in doing so, I encourage you today to look to the left and to the right. Look at the people that are showcasing these things. Look at their work and their passion. Okay? It's the dedicated men, women, trustees, overseers, staff, students, the entire academic community, and those who volunteer for the American School that make this place so special. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the